Got a good amount of y'all showing up here. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick things off here. So, want to welcome everybody here to Work Without the Whiplash. This is something that is a little close to my heart here, as the focus of this webinar is going to be on shifting priorities and having to pivot and uh, all simultaneously in the workday, be on your toes at all times here. So if that title landed for you, you're probably relating to that here as well. So I plan on sharing my screen. We've got a resource here that we've built where, as per usual, we will record everything here and place that video up before the end of the week. Um, and I am rearranging some windows here. So everything here that I've prepared is in the resource. I'm going to be pretty hands-on in the product as well. And we'll go through a couple of things for managers and individual contributors, as this is kind of the focus of this webinar. But I think that there's enough stuff in here that if you're not in one of those roles, you're absolutely more than welcome to stay. I think there's a lot of really great content in here, especially when it comes to using some of the features that we'll see that will also apply to you, or maybe you can take that into your own workplace as well and use that in your workday. So before we jump in and dive into like the role specific stuff, I kind of want to put us all on the same foundation here and just identify some of the things that how people can react in times of stress. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So in the resource here, um, foundation I want to set everybody on is stress changes how people can work. And there's a couple of patterns that I've identified to watch out for in people as they are having to pivot or react to a change of some sort. So a lot of these four are kind of placed on a bit of a spectrum here. So you can have folks on one end or the other. And these four priorities are, or the four things that change when priorities change, that you can notice in folks are speed, tone, risk tolerance, or how comfortable somebody is during times of ambiguity, and the need for context. So folks can either talk faster or freeze up. Folks can either get sharper or more critical, whether that's about themselves or others. And then some folks tend to shut down or overcommit when it comes to thinking about being dealing with ambiguity and things like that and how they react to that. Um, and then the need for context. Some folks will either shut down or some folks will ask for more questions. Why are we doing this? When is this due? What's the deadline? Who's the team? Things like that. Other folks just kind of want to get it done. What do I need to do? What do you need from me? How can I help? Let's just keep it moving. So, um, with that, with those four things to look out for, let's go ahead and pull up Cloverleaf, and you're more than welcome to follow along at home if you want. But I want to show you just something really simple to start out with that will help you identify some of these patterns. So we're going to go into Cloverleaf, and I'm logged in under my dummy account here under Avery. And I'm just going to go to a team or a reporting team dashboard. So by clicking on that, I'm going to get some information here that is going to help me understand. Pull out my window just a little bit there. It's going to help me understand some of the things to look out for. And I think a really great starting point here is thinking styles with Enneagram selected here. So with Enneagram selected, and if I'm working with Cameron here, and Avery should be on the other side if I move my chat, that's right. Um, I can learn about myself and some of the things that I communicate and how I like to communicate as Avery. So you can see here he's relaxed. He might explore different threads, agreeable, and enjoys discussions. So that's really important to know about yourself or myself. And some other really important things are also underneath Enneagram as well. So you have work style, sources of friction, and in conflict. And I think with the topic of today's webinar, just kind of dealing with shifting priorities and pivoting to things when you're possibly, deep into the flow of a project and all of a sudden something gets handed to you that is now top priority, that might cause some conflict. So Avery tends to strongly avoid disagreements and then looks for mediation and resolution as well. These are really important to learn about yourself. And then while I'm here on this page, the second point I want to make is that you can absolutely do this for the folks that you are working with as well. So again, if I'm working with Cameron here, we can go through the communication styles, the work styles, and the sources of friction and conflict as well. So if I'm Avery as the manager and I need to have a one-to-one with Cameron and let them know, hey, this just came down the line, I can pull up this team dashboard and figure out, okay, this is going to cause some friction. This is how she might react in conflict. And it would help me craft my message a little bit better. All right. So that's kind of the foundation I wanted to lay out for you. Now I'm going to go into the role specific topics here. So one that I've chosen for y'all is starting with managers. How do I stabilize priorities and coach through ambiguity? Um, the first thing that I want to point out to you is that you can do this at any time, whether you're a manager or not. We would hope that everything is calm on your end of the computer and that you can use these tools to get ahead of it. But if you are in the thick of a change and need some quick knowledge, this is also super helpful to take away and start applying right in the moment. Um, so for managers, your team is going to look to you to help get through the pivot, to have strong communication and strong leadership through a pivot. So the first piece that I've identified here that I want to talk about is setting a really great coaching focus around leading through the change. So with coaching focus, it got a bit of an update in the last couple of months where you can now work with Cloverleaf to create a coaching plan. So, as I said at the start of leading into this, hopefully you're not going through something like this, but the coaching focus is really great for working through or working with Cloverleaf to get a plan around something like wanting to coach your team through frequent priority changes without losing trust or momentum. So I'm going to grab this coaching focus and demonstrate to you how the coaching focus gets created and some of the nudges that we'll see as a manager leading a team through something like this. So I'm going to go to coaching focus here on the left-hand menu, add a coaching focus or create a coaching focus. And I'm just going to, I know I didn't paste the first word here. So I want to coach my team through frequent priority changes. So I'm going to create a coaching focus, and this takes a little bit of time to put together, but I hope that the visual that you get here kind of helps you understand maybe some good inspiration that you can use. So as we're setting up our coaching focus, there's a couple of questions that are going to uh, get asked of the manager about their team and kind of a little bit more understanding that Cloverleaf is going to want before creating this plan. So, I love this first one. People feel whipsawed and lose energy for a new direction. And then obviously you can skip all of these, but the more detail that you give this tool, the more you're going to get back that's relevant to the situation. So for the sake of time, I am going to jump through this one here. I don't always know the full reasoning behind the shift myself, and well, that's kind of perfect here. Um, and then what would successfully coaching your team change look like for you? So this first one is pretty good as well, helping the team stay motivated when the direction shifts again. And so with this additional context here, it's going to create this plan and come up with some of these nudges. So while we're doing that, this does take a little bit of time. If there's anyone in the chat that is kind of thinking through this right now, where do you think using the coaching focus could help you navigate the change? So again, you can use this specifically for the topic of this webinar, but if there are other aspects that you're looking to coach your team through, definitely feel free to add that here in the chat. But yeah, so we're going to get a plan here generated. So you can see here now, this is pretty much what the page is going to look like after the nudges get created. You can see here the nudges are going to keep adding. And so by default with the coaching focus, it starts for 3 weeks. You can extend this, you can shorten this, you can dive deeper into this. But yeah, if you I know I've kind of started talking over that question there, but where do you think using a coaching focus could help you navigate some change? I want to hear from somebody in the chat. Give everybody a minute here. Yeah, think about like if you were receiving targeted coaching tips like this. Okay, we got clarification of where the change is going or where it's maybe expected to go. Yeah, that's great. Great example. Thank you, Jennifer. Um, So you can see here, and feel free to keep adding here. I know we've got 45 minutes, so I'll keep it moving. But definitely, feel free to keep active in the chat if you have any questions. We're both here to help out here with any questions as well. So with that, we have our coaching plan that has been created over the next 3 weeks. So like I said, even if you're going through this right now, you get all the nudges right down here and you can sift through them to get a better understanding of your team as things are changing or as things might change in the next coming weeks. This is also really beneficial for you to get that coaching delivered to you over the next 3 weeks. So these are twofold. Hopefully these help give you that better understanding of yourself and your team and how to coach them through those priority changes. The next feature I want to highlight for managers is Discover. I can't get through a webinar without talking about Discover here. So this, while coaching focus helps give you a coaching plan per se that you'll get delivered wherever you get your coaching notifications, whether that's email, Slack, or Teams, Discover can be used at any time. You can log into Discover and you can ask it a question about anyone in your organization. You can ask it a question about yourself. So there's one in particular that I want to share with you all that I thought was really great, especially since we're talking about last minute things. So if we go back to our resource, the next piece we're going to talk about here is discover prompts for managers. And I really like this last one down here. So let's say Avery gets out of the product meeting where a new feature has just been prioritized and needs to be shipped out yesterday. Avery, being the manager of the product team, needs to prepare for a one-to-one in less than 90 seconds. He's got to turn around and start delivering the news to his. So I love this Discover prompt that we can use where can get as specific as you want. Mention people in the prompt. How do I prep a one-to-one with so and so? But I think for just this one, we're going to prep this one-to-one and just give Avery some general knowledge. But you can absolutely mention somebody in the prompt as well. And so this is really great. I have to turn around some information, and the coaching I get is super relevant. It talks about Avery's feeling of unsettling when sudden changes and may find it hard to explain shifts quickly, especially when forced to reply on the spot. So you get all of this. Discover shows its work in the citations here, and will show you what assessments these are pulling from. But I thought that this one was really great and um, especially for tight turnarounds. There's a lot of great things that you can do from these prompts. So if I just need to turn this around in 90 seconds for a one-to-one I have coming up, what are some quick things that I can do to apply this? I think this is perfect for getting that quick bullet point information. We're going to name the shift, or we're going to explain why it matters, and we're going to use a brief focus statement to help you and your teammate reorient quickly. So, there's lots of great quick action items that apply this uncovers after you've given it a prompt like this. And if there's something specific I want to jot down, I can also take notes on this and refer back to it in my coaching history as well. So yeah, that's two features here that managers can use, especially as things quickly change. Let's refocus a little bit and think about our individual contributors here in the chat or watching the video in the future. So again, I'm going to touch on coaching focus and discover again, but we're going to frame it through the IC perspective here. So I won't spend as much time, but I just want to show you uh, some prompts that you can use that are listed in the resource here, or some plans that you can use right now that if I need to create another coaching focus, we can do absolutely that. Um, just paste that in there super quick and just show you some of the content that Cloverleaf gives you. Again, I won't make too much of an emphasis on this, and um, we'll just get through all of that. But you can see here the plan that it gives you is again going to be 3 weeks and hopefully prepares you for the moment something does change, or helps you get ahead for when things inevitably do change. Um, so yeah, that's a little bit about the coaching plan here. I just want to let this thing generate so it gives me at least one or two nudges so we can kind of see some of the content that you as an individual contributor can expect to receive. So Avery is kind of twofold in this organization. He has both a reporting team of folks that report into him, and then Avery is also on a team where he reports into a manager himself. So you can see here some of the nudges that we're getting, um, kind of on that same line of prioritizing speed, clear, short updates when time is tight. The instinct serves in many contexts. It keeps you moving and cuts through the noise. So, again, really useful no matter what part of the process you're going through. If something has changed now or in the future, really great content here that will serve you for when the time comes. And then one last thing to end here on Discover prompts. There's a lot of really great ones in here as well. I like how do I stay calm and productive when priorities change daily. And then the really cool thing about Discover, as you've probably seen, is you don't need to be an AI prompt engineer. You can just talk to it like a person, and it will give you the response, that you're looking for, depending on the question that you've asked or the statement that you've made here. So you can use plain language. You don't need to be an expert in the assessments either, which I think is great. Cloverleaf shows its work through the citations and gives you that confidence in the response to know that you don't we're the expert here. You don't have to know all of the assessments that we have to offer. And then so for my ICs specifically, um, I added a couple of more Discover prompts that you can use that hopefully empower you to, like, as the prompt here says, push back or ask for clarity without sounding resistant or, like you don't want to do it. So there's a lot of really great content in here that I think is a little IC specific, but I think anybody could apply this. So you can see here in the Discover search, I've now said my manager just shifted priorities again, and Cloverleaf is automatically going to know based on if you've selected your manager and tagged them appropriately in our platform that Avery has a manager in Cameron, and it's going to know who I'm talking about just when I say my manager. And then so here we can see the response that it gives us. We have the ability to ask follow-up questions. We get the apply this button here again, and then any opportunity to jot down any notes that might be specific to whatever your situation is. So hopefully this is good. Again, ask any questions you have going forward. If there are any ICs here in the chat, do you see yourself using something like this, or do you feel like this gives you some of the tools that you need for when things do change to better prepare yourself without sounding too resistant? Give you all just a couple minutes here. Oh, quiet bunch today. All right. Yeah, great point, Anjanette. Um, I try to, while these webinars are specific to roles, I think that there's stuff in here for everybody, no matter what your role is. So hopefully, yeah, this helps you lead up or you can apply it to your situation. So hopefully this is helpful and makes me happy knowing that it can be. So appreciate that. So this next topic we're going to jump into is building a just a lightweight cloverleaf rhythm that you can actually keep. So one of the main topic points that I want to also drive home here is that I hope that in this webinar that we're not adding anything additional to what you're already doing. I again don't want you to create new meetings based on this. I don't want you to create a new process or anything. My hope is that you're already in the platform, doing some of these things with coaching focus and discover. We hope that this makes it a little bit more relevant to the situation and helps prepare you better for when things like this happen. So um, definitely don't want you adding more to anything that you're already doing. So, um, this next bit is just about keeping that rhythm. And we're going to hear rhythm a lot in this next topic. So, we want to set a habit small enough to survive a very busy week. And we want to find something that matches your role. So, here's a couple of things that my ICs can do to help give you a little bit more stability. And the one first thing I want to talk about here is energy rhythm. I feel like this is my favorite assessment. I personally just I find it so useful in a lot of different ways. So for energy rhythm here, if I jump over into Cloverleaf and I pull up a team, and if you're not familiar with the best time of day module, this is what I'm going to talk about next. This pulls from your energy rhythm assessment. And energy rhythm basically answers a question you may or may not already know the answer to. Are you a starter or an early morning riser, a pacer, someone who kind of thrives in the middle of the day, or an anchor or slash night owl type chronotype? And so it's a quick 2-minute assessment. And based on your results of that, we'll place you into one of these three categories here. So you can see here on the team that I've pulled up, the majority of us are pacers, which means we're hitting our stride kind of in that middle of the day. But underneath this information, we have this best time of day feature that identifies peak time activities and recover time activities. And I think what I want to drive home here, especially for my ICs, but again, anyone can use this. If I pull up data analysis, you can see here that best time of day is a peak type activity. And we define peak as the best time for intense, focused tasks that require analytical and strategic brain power. So what I want you all to do here is find your peak time and at least one day out of the working week, put a calendar block up into your calendar and block that peak time. This is the time when you're the most intense, when you're the most focused. We do this here at Cloverleaf. We have a every Wednesday for the first couple hours of the day, since most of us fall into this category of hitting our peak before lunchtime here. we all have a calendar block that allows us to get things done, whatever it is that it might be. Um, but find the peak that works best for you, and one day a week, put a block in your calendar so that way folks know to schedule meetings around that peak time. I think this is really important as you stabilize and want and strive for that stability. Helps you kind of knock some things off of your to-do list and get organized for the rest of your week or the rest of your projects, deadlines, whatever it may be. All right, so next for my ICs, we're going to run a discover session before a tough conversation. So like I just showed you, um, I've got some prompts here that you can take into discover that will help you formulate a way that you can push back without sounding too resistant, that I hope that you can take and apply when necessary. And then lastly, for my ICs, pick a time, usually at the end of the week. Friday's probably a good day for most of us. Go through your coaching, not just in your coaching history, but go through the coaching focuses that you've created. Reflect on any of the nudges that you've gotten. Reflect on some of the discover searches that you've done. And then even if you have set up a calendar block in your work week, reflect on that and think about what's working. Think about how you can improve it in the next week going forward. Even if it's just 1%, it's still 1% in the right direction. So, a couple of quick things that you can do. Hopefully, none of this is too time intensive. Discover maybe takes about a minute or two. Setting up a calendar block is probably the most fun thing that you'll ever do at work. And then spending 2 minutes on a Friday, reflecting on your coaching history and improving on what can be improved upon is definitely some good things to have in your back pocket. All right, so for my managers here, we're going to take a look at the team dashboard before any kind of reset and plan how you'll communicate it. So one of the things that you can do is use that team thinking style. The other thing I want to show you on the team dashboard is the fact that you can jump into a discover prompt right at the top of this team dashboard. So any of the prompts that I've shared on the resource, you can throw right into this discover prompt, and Cloverleaf is automatically going to know that whatever you've just put in here is going to be asking it based on the members of this team. So the response that you get, whether you talk about my team or how to motivate or how to keep this team motivated, I'll just shorten that for there. Just to kind of show you what that looks like. It's going to know that Avery is talking about, yes, the product team. It's going to pull all the members of the product team here. And then I'm going to get some great information on how I can keep the energy up, how to keep the motivation, how to keep everybody focused and engaged. And then give me some great context here that I can take into maybe my team meeting in the next 90 seconds that I have to deliver some pretty crazy news to. All right, jumping back in here, we're going to jump into another feature here shortly, but just wanted to add it here is check in with your team. So as I mentioned for our managers, these folks are taking their cues from you. They're looking up to you to hand down that communication. So as a manager, I would encourage you to use the feedback tool. Ask on a monthly or quarterly basis. And, over time, as you're asking for feedback, you can hopefully spot some patterns here that help you support your team all the better. We talked about energy rhythm here. And then the last bit here is the coaching that you get. Again, I touched on it briefly. It's a good reinforcement for you. A short tip that arrives wherever you're working the most, whether that's in your inbox or Slack or Teams. All that hopefully helps meet you in the flow of your work and gives you some really good bite-sized information. All right, so I'm going to jump into feedback now. So for our managers here, we're going to start with you, and I'm going to grab just this one here, but we could use all three in the same one. So, as mentioned earlier, as things are changing and you're working through your team, trying to keep this boat as steady as possible, one really great way that you can do that is by getting feedback on or from your team. So we do this here a lot at Cloverleaf as well. My boss will send me some feedback requests around how she can support me better. So the first thing we can do here in feedback is create that new request. And then I'm going to just select Jordan, Kai, and, Cameron too, even though. And then in the feedback here, there's a couple of things that I want to call out. You can ask as many questions as you need to. Obviously, you don't want to go overboard on this, but you can ask one question or you can add another question below. So, like you saw in your resource, I've given you three questions that you can ask. If this is something that you want to do on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis, you can even save these questions as a template. So that way you're not copying and pasting from the resource every month or something like that. So I can go ahead and send off this feedback request. Oh, why is it not letting me do it? Might be missing something. It's open
Yeah,
text.
this happened to me, Jason, in the
Oh no.
demo account the other day. So it might be a demo account glitch. So
Okay.
it might
Well,
just be an issue in the demo account. Usually it's fine. You can send it. And once you send it, people will get either an email or a notification in their Slack if it's integrated with Slack or
okay.
Teams.
Yeah.
So it's it's working fine in your account. It might be a demo account issue.
Oh, I think one thing I was unclear on is I didn't tell it I was done. So I clicked add question and it's going to let me send it now. So I think that's what I forgot to, that button threw me off.
It just started happening yesterday because I've been demoing it the same
Oh,
way for a long time. So I don't know. Yeah. So
cool.
yeah.
Well, luckily this is recorded and I will take a clip of
Yes.
this, pass it.
Yeah.
So,
It just happened to
um,
me yesterday, so I noticed it. So I thought it was me, but now we can see it's not just me.
here we go. Thank you, Steph. So we're gonna, like I said, you can add all these questions on here, create that feedback request, and it is pretty instant. You'll get an email or a Slack notification or Teams notification letting you know that someone is requesting feedback from you. And then what you can do, if I hit my back button here, there's templates here that we've just added. So if there's a specific set of questions that you want to add over and over again, what I recommend doing is creating a template up here and just putting those questions as however many you want to ask as a template, and then you just pull right from the template during your request. So super helpful for managers, especially if you're in an industry where you have to pivot a lot and you want to make sure that everyone on your team is as steady as possible and stable as possible. Getting that feedback and spotting those patterns over time is super crucial. And then same thing for the ICs. You can use feedback to ask up to your manager. You can ask when priorities shift. What would you like me to communicate earlier? How can you flag risk without sending negative? And one of the benefits of the feedback tool is that Cloverleaf will work with you as you construct that feedback to your manager or to whomever asked for your feedback. And the AI summary
You
that
can
it
open it.
gives you.
You can open it, Jason. You can go into there's feedback requests, open it. So no, Kelsey,
Yeah.
it's not anonymous. So it is a non-anonymous 360.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just share briefly here. As a coach, I am not a fan of 360s, and I'm going to tell you why. I get hired a lot to do 360s, and I'm going to tell you what happens with them. So you can see Jason on the screen right now is like when Jason mentioned it's you're getting guided by Cloverleaf. So you're getting guided by Cloverleaf by the assessment results of the person who has requested the feedback, right? Is guiding the feedback coach to tell you how they like to receive feedback. So when I've done traditional 360s, here's what happens. The 360 stays open for 2 to 3 weeks, and or maybe sometimes even a month. And everybody's filling it out at different times. And what happens is that they're filling it out, and what they're thinking about is what has is going on right exactly in that day. And then they submit it, and by the time they submit it, and by the time they debrief it with the coach, sometimes it's a month later. Sometimes it's 2 to 3 weeks later, right? And so maybe whatever they were responding in got resolved. And then maybe they were responding in something in some negative way, or they gave some feedback, but it got resolved. And now I'm debriefing it with the client, and they're trying to figure out who it is. Oh, I think I know who that is. Who said that? But we resolved that. And it's like this weird game. So, yeah, there's this certain aspect of anonymous feedback that allows some people to say certain things they wouldn't say. But it's really this real time feedback. You get it immediately. Okay. You're not debriefing it 3 to 4 weeks later. Okay. And so the 360 winds up first, what's happening is called the recency effect, right? You only think about what's happening right now, but then you don't debrief it until 3 weeks later. So you can't do anything about the feedback because the moment has passed. When you get the feedback right away, you can actually deal with what's happening right away. And we know that feedback only makes a difference. Feedback, I shouldn't say only. Feedback makes the most difference when it's timely. So, feedback that's given in a 360 for leaders, yes, it can be helpful because you can see this, the compilation of these similar questions. But that's why I always invite leaders to use the same question and send that same question to all their direct reports. And then you can compare that, but you can get it in real time. And so, we have to also learn to have courageous conversations in organizations where we can give feedback to people and know exactly who it's coming from. And when we can be courageous and when we can have those courageous conversations and know who it's coming from, that's when we get to extraordinary leadership. That's when we get to have extraordinary teams, when we can have those open conversations and know exactly who we're talking to. And so the anonymous 360, it's an ordinary tool. It's an ordinary conversation. And so being able to have these courageous conversations and offer this feedback and know who it's coming from is when we get to the level of extraordinary. We start to have extraordinary teams, extraordinary performance, extraordinary communications. And so that's where we're inviting people to sort of raise that bar. And so then Cloverleaf's going to actually help you do that by coaching you to give the feedback in the way the person is actually designed to get the feedback. Okay. And it's going to tell you if you miss the mark or not by giving you that little checklist. Right. But it's a great question.
Yeah. All right. Um, so with that, uh, thank you, Stephanie, for the context first and foremost. It's always appreciated. Um, the last thing I want to leave y'all with is some of the features that I didn't mention, that you can absolutely use to help supplement shifting changes in priorities. I do want to make sure that we leave time for the feedback. But one last thing I do want to call out that's here in your resource is our scenarios tool. Whether you're a manager or an IC or not, or one of the ones not mentioned today, you can use scenarios to help practice some of these difficult conversations. This one is a little bit more time intensive. You know, you can't turn around and have a 90-second scenario. But if you have 5 to 10 minutes to practice a conversation, the old adage, practice makes perfect, or as they say nowadays, practice makes better. Scenarios is a great tool to help you practice these conversations so that way you go into the real one all the more prepared. So for some managers, delivering hard news, coaching through a shift, addressing tension, great topics there. And then for ICs, pushing back on a deadline, renegotiating scope or flagging risk to a manager or a peer as well. And then in our last bit here, so if you want just some quick takeaways, there's a couple things that you can do as a manager. Let's check in on our coaching focus and create a plan. Let's learn about our team on the team dashboard. Let's set up a feedback cadence. And then anytime in between that, use Discover to learn more about your team in specific topics. And then so for our ICs, again, let's set up a coaching focus. Let's block our calendar using our peak time according to energy rhythm. Let's also lean into discover, and let's also set up some sort of a feedback cadence so that way there's continuous improvement, not just from you, but from management as well. So with that, if you have just a few minutes, I want to make sure that we have time for you all to collect, to give us some feedback on this webinar. One very important thing is that this feedback helps shift our future webinars. So please, be thoughtful in your feedback about topics that you want to see going forward. Stephanie, I believe you have the link. If not, I can grab it
I got
super
it.
quick.
Yep.
There it is. Um, and it's just a few questions here. We'll go through it together.